Hi everyone, this is Aki with another video on IRS free filing, and in a couple of videos I'm going to go through actually all the options of IRS free file tax software that's available to you. If you go to irs.gov and if you click on File, Individuals, How to File, and here you will have e-file options including free file. I will also click a direct link. And you have to click the first option, which is the IRS free file fillable forms. So if your income is less than 73,000, you can qualify for the 8 tax software that's approved by the IRS for tax year 2021. You click on that, and here we just have more information on the program. The one on the left, this is the link basically to the tax software. And the one on the right, that's a fillable forms, which are like electronic PDFs. If you don't qualify for the left side or you prefer to do it yourself, this is more for taxpayers who know how to fill out forms and are familiar. There's some just basic calculation for you, but otherwise you have to do a lot of it yourself. But it's an option for people who may be using pencil and paper. So let's click on the choose an IRS free file offer. Now I will show you in another video. I go over the lookup tool to kind of screen through the software that's available, the one that's best for you. But right now we're just going to click browse all offers. So here is the tax software that's available for 2021, and many of these companies you might not heard of. And the only one really that I know, the only two, like Tax Act, I'm familiar with. I mean, I've heard of it, but I have never used it. And TaxSlayer, which is actually a good company, and they have a pretty good software. A lot of Vita, and TCE IRS program, they use that software to do the free on-site filing for taxpayers. So I'm only familiar with that software. Every other ones I'm not familiar with like the FreeTaxUSA, 1040 Now, Online Taxes, FileYourTaxes.com, Easy Tax Return, and Free 1040 Tax Return. So I'm just going to go through each of them and just see how easy they are to use, and just basically to help you out figure out how to use them. So for each of the software, before you choose, you want to make sure that you qualify for, even though it says 73,000 or less qualifies for the tax software, but not each software will be possible for you to use. So you see, like this one, the FreeTaxUSA, it says that you have to actually make less than 41,000, any age, for any state, the free federal, and state for each state if you qualify for free federal. So basically this software qualifies all of the states in the US, but you have to make less than 41,000. If you have earned income tax credit, it's still you're still able to use the software, and if you have military pay, it's also included. So each of them has different qualifications, so you do want to review before you start the process. So let's click on the FreeTaxUSA. So FreeTaxUSA, now I just want to mention that for each of the software, the link at the top, freetaxusa.com/freefile2021, and some other numbers at the end. So this indicates that this is actually the free software. So if, let's say, you go to the IRS website and you see the company and you don't file today, and tomorrow you come back and you're like, okay, I want to just go FreeTaxUSA, and you put in FreeTaxUSA by itself, what happens is, if you just do that, you go to a different entry screen homepage. So they're a little bit different. So it looks the same, but look at the heading. So this is the IRS free one, which says free federal and state filing if you make less than 41. If you don't qualify, it will be $14.99. Now, if you just go to freetaxusa.com, if you just Google it, it says e-file directed to the IRS. It says federal, it's free. but state right away there's a price for it. So you see, you're getting that state free if you just go to the direct IRS free file link, which, it's very true for many companies. So we can see that it's true for the FreeTaxUSA. So I've never used these softwares, but I just created an account, but I'll show you how to do the process. So basically you can click this start your free return, and this will say, okay, create an account. So I already done it, but I'm going to say I'm a returning user and sign in. So I'm going to click sign in now. And it's saying welcome back because I already created the account, and it says begin year. You can actually do an extension for your 2021 tax return. And I'm just going to say click continue, and I pre-populated this. So I have a dummy tax form. Let me see if I see it here, right here. This is just an example, and it just has some information. So that's what I'm going to use for this example. So I just pre-populated it. It's a dummy information. And here at the bottom, you have to answer some of these questions. These are important. Now notice these question marks by each of these questions. If you click on that, it actually provides more information. And this is really useful because I like how, you have a question right there. You have a help menu to help you answer these questions if you're not sure. So like, you have to answer if you are a dependent or not. So if a full-time student, maybe under the 24, maybe you're still considered dependent. So you have to, if you're not sure how to answer the question, make sure you use these question marks. So I'm going to say no. Do you want to contribute $3 to the presidential election campaign fund? If you don't know what it is, you just can click on it and find more information. And this question, is this person legally blind? So this is important for additional standard deduction. So you can qualify for additional standard deduction if you are legally blind or you are over 65. So you want to answer this because this will be to your benefit if you do qualify. And this last question, has this person passed away? Because if a taxpayer passed away during the year, you still have to file a final return. So you can click on this and find more information. So I really like how, easy it is to find information. Now notice at the very top, a couple of things. I see this option here. So when you click on this, this is a bookmark. So some software have this option. This is a really great option for many software, because if you know, like, an answer to a question is something, but you don't have all the information with you, you can just create a bookmark and save that place in the software so you can come back to it. So you won't let you file until you go back to that place and answer the question. Now click this clock. What is this? So this clock, you see, it shows you what has been done in the software. So it shows you like what you have filled out. So that's really interesting thing. So you can maybe skip around through that option as well. And let's click this. So this shows you what you have filled out and what you need to still complete. So you can click on this and it shows you, oh, you filled out this personal information and something that's grayed out that would be not filled out. So let's click continue, save and continue. And this is talking about your filing status. I have selected single. And if you're not sure which filing status, like maybe, head of household, whether you qualify, which filing status gives the biggest refund, you can click these links and it provides some information. So let's say for head of household, it does provide information what would qualify, if you have a dependent, if the dependent lived with you, if you have Social Security for them, and so on. So this is really helpful because right away you can find that information, and it's, the interface is pretty clean. It's not overwhelming. So this is great. Let's just save and continue. Do you have any dependents? I said I'm single, but you can still have dependents. And, in cases where, let's say you have ex-parents and they're providing credits and allowing the non-custodian parent claim some credits. These are some questions for that parent that have to be answered. you might get some credits. So it's important, if you're not sure, you can click on this. Let's say, who is qualifying child? So you see this tells you the relationship, the age, residency, and so on. So that's really helpful because it provides the information right away. You don't have to go to like help menu and find it. So I'm going to say, do you have an independent or qualifying children? I said no. Did you receive advanced child tax credit? There was some additional credit in 2021. So it's important to say that, yes, if you have, because the tax return will reconcile it and IRS will check. So if you answer incorrectly, your refund may be delayed in processing and so on. So I will say no, save and continue. And now it just provides the information I have entered. Continue. We're off to a good start. Now let's work on your 2021 income. And here it says, okay, now let's enter your W-2. Do I have one? I say yes, or I don't, or skip for now. So if you say skip for now, it will remember. Okay, let's say yes. Okay, and this basically is asking me to provide this information. So let me enter this. Okay, so I just pre-populated the information and I just want to show you a couple of things. So I entered the employee identification number, EIN, incorrectly on purpose, just to see what happens if the software will notify me that it needs to be entered correctly, because the number is 9-digit, but I just entered fewer. Now, another thing I want to mention is, the wages. When you enter in some software, it does the calculation for you, like the Social Security tax withheld. It's a 6.2% for employer and employee, and you should calculate, and you just basically have to verify. And the same with Medicare tax withheld, it's like 1.45 right now for employee, and then employer paid the same percentage. So it didn't do that for me. I had to enter manually, but that's fine. That's one thing to notice in maybe contrast to some other software. Now, Box 12, what I actually like is that it has provides you the information of all these codes that you can have in the box. And what I also like is that when you select the code, you actually have a little summary here what it is. So many software, they just put code D and you just have to look at the back of your W-2 or Google it what it is. So I entered that information, so I like that. Then the state information, and at the bottom you have to answer if it's a standard form or not, and if it's corrected. So if you got a corrected version, you want to select yes if it was, because IRS needs to reconcile which W-2 they should use for you. If they receive 2 as well. So now let's say save and continue. Let's see if it did notify me that I entered the EIN incorrectly. So that's great, because that's really helpful. It's one of these errors that taxpayers make and they don't realize. So let's just enter. It says employer identification number, it's a 9. So let's say if we click this, fix this, so it shows me right away which box is entered incorrectly. So let's say we had what did I have for my dummy employer right there? 1. Okay, now let's try to submit it again. Okay, now it went through and it says confirm, and you see I confirm, and it just says, okay, this is your W-2. If you want to add another one, so you can select this button. I just have one. And this is like a summary. So this is great because it's showing me summary what I've entered, so I can double check, make sure that I've entered correctly. Now at the very top, you can see where I'm at. So I like this, how I'm the personal, I finished my personal section, and it shows you with the green check marks what you have done, and then anything that's grayed out, it has not been completed. Now let's check the income. So income, you see, it shows me where I'm at with this arrow, and then I haven't gone to any of these sections, so it's grayed out. And then you can click. So you can click directly. You don't have to necessarily go through the continue options and moving this way, but I'm just going to do that for now. And here it's summarizing the possible option. So this is kind of the same as when you click on the arrow down and see all the income options. So what I filled out, it's already showing me the summary right here. And I can edit if I want to change it. And anything that I have not filled out, like interest income and so on, it just says not visited and you can start. Okay, so that's helpful. Now it has this other option. Look at this, show more, business and rental. So if it applies to you, but at the same time, it was by default closed. And then you also have uncommon income, gambling, some things that are unusual, so you can select them. And here at the very bottom, this is helpful. It says what type of incomes are not taxable. So you can select this to get more information, what would qualify. So like, some gifts or child support and so on. So it provides some information. So this is really helpful too. So now I'm going to continue. And it's asking you this question: did you receive sell exchange cryptocurrency in 2021? So 2020 and 2021, that question has been added. So you do want to provide answer it correctly to make sure you comply. We didn't have that cryptocurrency transactions in our case, so I answered no. Now here, like this. So it's like a summary of all the income we have entered. I mean, there's nothing else for us except the wages. But you can, provide all the other information if it applies to you. Now we've got your income, continue to deductions. So now you see we switched to deductions, credits. And I like at the top it telling you which edition I have. You see on the right, I have this federal refund information thus far. So this is just basically telling me based on what I've entered so far. Now it's telling me about standard itemized deductions. So it's telling me what standard deduction I qualify as single. And it's telling me that if you do want to check if itemized deduction is better, you can provide that later. So now if I click that, it lists what qualifies as itemized deduction. And it's saying that about 10 to 15% most taxpayers have itemized deduction greater than standard, but majority people, we're talking about 90% to 85 to 95%, standard deduction is the way to go. Now another question here, it's talking about the possibility of deducting up to 300 cash donations without itemizing, so that's important. And it's saying, what if I just want to take standard deduction? It's just saying that you can just disregard answering the itemized deduction questions. So we click continue. And, I'm not going to provide any of this, but I will say, let's say I do have some charitable deductions that maybe, I gave to church, $100. And so I just enter this here, say save. And keep going, save and continue. And it does summarize, show me what I've entered. So this is a double check to make sure that you've entered correctly. And here's another screen. So if you didn't enter the $100 in the itemized deduction, you can enter it here because the tax law changed for the past 2 years that you can deduct some cash contribution, cash, not goods, but cash contribution, even if you use standard deduction. So you could enter it on this screen. Now here is deduction summary. So it's showing us our standard deduction of $12,550. Itemized deduction would be $1,600, and you would be like, but I didn't enter anything. Well, this tax software is smart enough to picked up the taxes paid, the income taxes paid to state of $1,500. So it's doing the calculation in the back, basically. Even if you didn't enter everything, it does the itemized calculation for you if you have anything that would qualify. And it has the $100 contribution right there. So in our case, it's saying, standard deduction of $12,550 is more than itemized, so it's better for you. But you can still opt to select the itemized deduction, and you would think, why? And there's a question, and basically it's saying that in cases maybe like if you're married filing separately, if the spouse selects itemize, you will have to do that as well, but it's very unusual, so it's not a common option. Now here is asking about your healthcare coverage if you have marketplace insurance. So if you receive Form 1095A, you would have to put that in because it reconciles how much in subsidies you have received. So it's very important to enter it because let's say sometimes, the software right away will reject it if it can verify that you have that form, that you should have that form. But otherwise, what will happen, you will get a letter or later on a rejection saying that you have to fix the error, you have to enter the form. So it's important to provide that if that's the case. Now, common deduction credits. So you see right now we are at the deduction credits section, and you can see where we at and what they have. So it's kind of like a nice summary of possible deductions. You can just skim through it to see what applies. And IRA contribution, these are some standard ones. Earned income tax credit, retirement saving credit. So you see these items right there at the bottom. It says view. Let's click that. So this is basically pre-filling some forms for you, and you can have a look at the form, how it looks, what was provided, and you can also download it. So that's really helpful. I really like that, and I like how clean it looks. Everything looks so clean right now. Other deductions, so you can skim through these options and see what applies to you. And here's a summary. I like how it's showing you this summary is at the end of what you have filled. So we have the standard deduction and what credit. So you see pre-filled credit. And basically, if we view this form, it's showing us that we had $2,000 of 401k contributions, and it does the calculation that we qualify for $200 of credit. If you can't see it that way, you can download it. So that's really great. Some software doesn't give you that option to download anything during the process. We're making great progress. Continue to miscellaneous. So miscellaneous can have things like payments. Like let's say if maybe you're working for yourself, you have Schedule C, you're Uber driver, or gig worker, and you have to make estimate tax payments. If you have made them, you want to put them in, and so on. So that's helpful, not too overwhelming. Now it says Refund Maximizer. Do you want to go to Refund Maximizer? It will ask you some additional questions to deduct. I mean, if it's your first time, do it. Just go through it and see, because that may remind you of something that you forgot. Might remind you with a question of, that there's something you can qualify for. And that's one thing helpful with some of these software. If you're not familiar, you don't have to worry about it, like knowing where to put things on a form. It just asks you questions and does that for you. So, it's asking you, do you provide more than half of financial support to relatives such as niece? So maybe you qualify for other dependents. So you see these questions, and then the little question mark can provide you some information. So this is really helpful. But in our case, we're going to say no, nothing applies. Now, it's saying one way to reduce your taxes to make you only report income required by the IRS. So this is really great because, that's the best income, right? Non-taxable income. So this is again kind of showing you what income qualifies as non-taxable. We're just going to continue, and it's also trying to find out if anything else applies to you that you may have a credit or deduction that you're not aware of. Now check your documents. So these are some standard forms that many taxpayers receive. Maybe they have not received it yet, so it's kind of just wants to warn you and trigger your memory basically. Maybe you do have a banking account and you should expect a Form 1099 interest, so maybe you should wait for it or try to obtain it before you file it. But in our case, we say nothing. So now this is a federal summary. So you see at the very top, the summary is showing us income and the adjusted gross income, then the deduction, standard deduction subtracted from that to obtain taxable income. And then based on that is how much tax we pay. And then it's saying what credits we qualify. and then what payment we have made. So these payments, remember, I didn't enter any estimate payments, but we had withholdings from W-2. So that transfer right there, and put that in the software. And then it's saying, okay, this is your total refund. And this matches what it's showing on the right there. So this is really great. And then it's saying, okay, download if you have trouble viewing. So let's just open this and see how. Okay, it showed on my other screen. Let me bring it over. So basically it has a watermark, but this is really great. You see it's showing us pre-filled copy just to kind of like see overall what you filled out. So this is really great, and it has the other forms as well. I'm really surprised with the software. It's really great. Continue. For a simple return, it's really user-friendly. It's not overwhelming, and it's saying now we can start on your state tax return. And I mean, I'm not just going to do it, but you do can fill out state return. I'm not sure how many states would qualify for free filing. So that's a question that we can ask. Do you want to file? I'm going to say no for now. And now it's saying, okay, there are currently no additional products available to purchase. Click view order history. Okay, so far I like that I wasn't bombarded with many ads or anything to try to sell me anything. So I like that. Now the default is paper check in the mail, but direct deposit is recommended. This is the fastest way to get your refund and safest way. So you would provide this if you want to split it into more than one bank account. But for the purpose of the video, I'm going to select paper check. And some people still want that, and that's fine. Now it's saying, just to verify, you chosen to receive the refund by check. This is the amount of the check, and this is going to be sent to this address. So you want to double check to make sure it's correct. Click continue. And it's asking, do you want to provide us your phone number to the IRS? Now, why? We don't share that information, but you can provide it just in case they have to contact you. So it's your choice. I'm going to say none. And here it's basically telling me that I have invalid social security number because obviously I'm using a dummy social security number. And this is saying, okay, you told us you had $100 of cash contribution. Since you aren't itemizing, if you would like to deduct some of those, you can tell us here. Okay, so let's see what happens. So you told us that you had $100 of cash contribution. So I guess that screen that we put on itemized, it didn't transfer. You still have to put it in the other options that we were there. I'll show you where. So let's go to deductions and let's find where that was. Okay, so here we entered it under the itemize, and then it was asking us again, and I didn't enter it because I thought I put it in the itemize, so it didn't transfer. So you see one of these things, but the software was able to recognize that we were missing it, and it was telling us about it. So this is great. And go to filing if you want to just jump directly to that place. And right now I can see at the very top, because I'm not going to obviously be able to proceed because I have this error. But right there at the top, you can see that there's going to be step 3, submit tax return. And it will ask you how you want to file, either electronically or print it out and mail it. You might have to provide prior year AGI or a PIN in order to verify your identity. And here, final thing will be check status, print tax return. So you'll be able to save or print a copy for yourself and check the status of the process. So I have to say, that this has been a pretty user-friendly, a great software. This is the first day that I've ever used it. So I would recommend this for anyone with a medium to simple tax return. So hopefully this helped you make a decision if this is something that you want to go with. So thanks for watching.